Hey guys, welcome back to Ancestral Healing. Today we're going to have a little discussion on whether or not eating protein or fat is more ideal for carnivore. From my personal experience and from doing a little research, I believe that higher fat is ideal. Our body wants to primarily use fat or glucose for energy. Proteins are essential building blocks for the body. Our bodies use protein only when needed, but they don't prefer that. When I first started eating carnivore, I wasn't aware of eating fat for energy and to feel good. So I ate super lean cuts of meat and I felt so tired, so exhausted. And then I started doing a little research, looking in the carnivore groups, and I found out the need to eat fat. And as soon as I started including more fat in my diet, my energy levels skyrocketed. The thyroid, for example, is part of the endocrine system, and the endocrine system needs fat. Our brains need fat, so logically it would make sense to add more fat to your meals. We need fat. We should not fear fat. And actually, I've met a couple carnivores who are still afraid of fat and trim the fat off their meat. So we've got a lot of psychological things to undo here before we can fully, dive into a carnivore diet and thrive. We cannot be afraid of the fat. Without fat, we risk hormone and thyroid function. We can heavily impact our hormones. We can mess up our thyroid. You can always reduce your fat levels once you're fat adapted. So I used to eat a lot more fat when I first started out. I would have a nice, steak about this size, and then probably, about a handful of fat on the side. I never really quite measured it, but I would just go by how I felt. And now I find I can go some meals that are just more protein, as long as, in my next meal, I make sure it's something with a higher fat content like an oxtail or ossobuco with a nice, bone marrow in the middle. So I kind of just eye it out and go by how I feel. But I did reduce my fat consumption a lot more than when I first started out on carnivore. I think, once you're fat adapted, you can kind of gauge how much fat you need and you'll realize you don't need that much anymore. If you're feeling low energy on carnivore, you probably need to add more fat. Or if you're a person who tried carnivore and, added carbs back in and you realize, oh, I feel so much better with carbs, you probably needed to try the diet with more fat. That's kind of what I've been realizing. I know the Strong Sisters, they had a video where they were talking, I don't remember with who they were talking about, but anyways, they started the carnivore diet and they eventually added in carbs and fruits, and a lot of people said that they didn't add enough fat to their meals. And I think there was some truth to that. So, it kind of makes you wonder if how their diet would have went on carnivore if they consumed more fat to begin with. But regardless, they seem to be healthy, doing well. They've gotten their periods. I'm super happy for them. I think that they know themselves best, and I'm not here to criticize their journey. I think that they're doing fantastic and I learn a lot from them. So just a few things to keep in mind. If you're eating a low fat carnivore diet, it can cause hormone imbalances. Fat is your hormonal friend. You need it for your hormones to be healthy. Lean protein is not necessarily ideal on carnivore because it can cause imbalances in the temperature in your body. This is called a hypoglycemic response. And one last final thing, if you're eating grass-fed, grass-finished meats, they may be a little bit lower in fat. That's what I experience. I eat mostly like 80% grass-fed, grass-finished, and the fat is almost non-existent. So I do kind of have to buy those fattier cuts of meat, those meats that I know guaranteed they're going to have fat in them. Otherwise, I'm going to be eating a whole lot of protein. Because I know that most of the cuts of meat that I get are low in fat, I always get a big chunk of beef fat, like this big, and I chop it up into little cubes and fry it in the air fryer. I have a recipe video for that, which I'll put below in the description. But I'll always have like little chunks of fat that I add to my meals because I know I feel best when I eat fattier cuts of meat. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to not keep it too sciencey, but just know that fat is important, fat is essential, and if you're not feeling too good on carnivore, maybe try upping your fat intake and see how that goes. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks so much for all your support. Take care and watch these other two videos on the screen if you'd like. Bye.